I want to show you a number that will permanently change how you think about your XRP position. Not a price target, not a market cap projection, a number that tells you exactly where you stand in the global XRP wealth hierarchy right now, today, before a single catalyst is fired, before the Fed decision lands tomorrow, before the Clarity Act passes, before any of the institutional developments that every analyst is projecting for 2026 actually materialize in the price. The number is 5,000 XRP. At today's price of $1.41, that is approximately $7,050, less than the cost of a used car, less than 1 month's rent in most American cities, less than what most Americans spend on food and entertainment in a single year. And according to the verified on-chain data from XRP Ledger Rich List Analytics published this week, the top 5% of XRP wallets each hold at least 8,000 XRP across approximately 371 accounts. CoinPaper, which means 5,000 XRP puts you above the median wallet balance on the entire XRP ledger, above the majority, in a position that the data says most people on this planet will never reach. Because 5,000 XRP is above the median wallet balance, only a relatively small percentage of wallets hold more than this amount. Crypto news. That is the statement that most XRP holders have never fully absorbed. If you are sitting on 5,000 XRP right now, through the 62% drawdown, through the whale dump headlines, through the macro pressure from the Fed, through every piece of bad news that has hit this asset since July 2025, you are already in the minority. You are already in a position that most people who will ever hear about XRP will never hold. And when you understand why that matters, when you understand the specific math that connects 5,000 XRP to the price targets that institutional analysts are projecting, the number that comes out the other end is the kind of number that most financial channels will not say out loud because it sounds too much like hype. But it is not hype. It is arithmetic. And I'm going to show you every single calculation so you can verify it yourself. Stay with me. Let us start with the distribution picture, because most XRP holders have a completely wrong mental model of how this asset is actually owned across the world. They imagine millions of sophisticated investors all holding large positions. The reality is categorically different. Only 1.5 to 2 million people globally hold XRP. Crypto briefing, not 10 million, not 50 million, 1.5 to 2 million people on a planet of 8 billion. That means fewer than 1 in 4,000 humans on Earth currently holds any XRP at all. The entire XRP holder base, every retail investor, every institutional buyer, every exchange customer with even a single token, fits inside a group that represents 0.025% of the global population. To qualify as a top 10% XRP holder, you only need 2,200 to 2,232 XRP, worth approximately $3,100 at current prices. To be in the top 5%, you need 7,700 XRP. To be in the top 1%, you need 46,400 to 46,521 XRP, approximately $65,000 at current prices. Changely. Read those thresholds carefully, because they tell you something extraordinary about the opportunity that exists right now while the price is suppressed. Top 10% of XRP holders, 2,200 XRP, $3,100. The price of a budget laptop, top 5%, 7,700 XRP, approximately $10,800. The price of a basic home appliance package, top 1% and 46,000 XRP, approximately $65,000. The median American household income for 1 year. These are not the wealth thresholds of an asset that has already been discovered by the masses. These are the thresholds of an asset that is still in the early adoption phase, where the positions that will represent significant wealth at future prices are still accessible at present prices to anyone with the discipline to accumulate them. The top 0.01% of accounts hold at least 3,952 with 994 XRP, representing just 756 wallets with multi-million token balances. The top 0.1% control balances of 295,194 XRP or more across 7,554 accounts. The top 0.5% threshold sits at $85.861 XRP, covering 37,768 wallets. CoinPaper, 756 wallets. That is the entire global population of XRP addresses holding more than 3.8 million tokens, not 756,000. 756. There are more people in a single block of a major American city than there are XRP addresses at the highest tier of accumulation. Now let us run the 5,000 XRP math through every realistic price scenario that the institutional analysis supports. because the distribution data alone does not tell you what the position is worth. The price scenarios tell you that. XRP commentator Archie sparked debate on X after posting a chart predicting that XRP will make a lot of people rich in 2026, with XRP potentially moving as high as $83, representing a 5,114% surge from $1.38 and implying a $5 trillion market cap. CoinDCX 5000 XRP at $83 equals $415,000. That is the extreme bull case, the one that requires a $5 trillion XRP market cap, which, as we discussed in our previous analysis, requires the entire current crypto market to more than double. But you do not need the extreme bull case to make the math compelling. Let us run it through the institutional base cases instead. Standard Chartered's year-end 2026 target is $8. 5,000 XRP at $8 equals $40,000. From a $7,000 investment today, a 470% return. The Monte Carlo simulation average across 10,000 price path scenarios puts XRP at $2.78 by December 2026. 5,000 XRP at $2.78 equals $13,900, nearly double your current position value without requiring any extraordinary institutional catalyst. Analyst Randon's 2026 year-end target of $3, representing over 100% upside from today. Supporters argue that regulatory clarity in the U.S., expanding institutional interest, and continued development on the XRP ledger could position the asset for a larger cycle move heading into 2026. CoinDCX 5000 XRP at $3 equals $15,000. And Standard Chartered's longer roadmap, $7 by 2027, $12.60 by 2028, $19.60 by 2029, $28 by 2030. Changely, 5,000 XRP at $28 by 2030 equals $140,000, from $7,000 today, in 4 years. Now here is the honest reality check that every responsible analysis must include, because the distribution data and the price math are compelling, but they are not the whole picture. As of February 2026, most of XRP's circulating supply is concentrated in a couple dozen addresses, with just the top 10 addresses holding over 19% of XRP. The top 50 addresses hold slightly more XRP than the remaining 4.8 million users combined. Benzinga. This concentration is the structural reality that every XRP holder needs to understand. The whale wallets, the exchanges, the institutional custodians, the early ecosystem members control leverage over the price that individual retail holders cannot match. When those large wallets move, the price moves. And when the price moves against retail holders, the psychological pressure to sell at a loss is the force that extracts value from the 5,000 XRP position and transfers it to whoever is buying on the other side. Kitty Kaplan noted that the rich list data only shows how XRP is distributed across wallets, not who owns the balances or has economic control over them. Unlike individual users, institutional investors keep their XRP in personal on-chain wallets, gain exposure through custodians, funds, or derivative products. This means the rich list data only shows wallet distribution, not true economic ownership. Coin paper. This distinction matters because it means the 5,000 XRP retail holder is competing in a market where the real whales, Goldman Sachs, the institutional ETF buyers, the custodial platforms, do not even show up directly in the rich list data. Their economic exposure to XRP is real and growing. Their influence on price is real and growing. But it is invisible in the on-chain wallet distribution numbers that most analysis cites. The question then is not whether 5,000 XRP is a significant position in the distribution hierarchy. The data says clearly that it is above the median wallet balance, accessible to only a relatively small percentage of wallets. Crypto news. The question is whether the holder of those 5,000 tokens has the conviction and the financial discipline to maintain that position through the volatility that precedes the price scenarios that make the math so compelling. The asset is on track to print its 5th consecutive red month, a rare occurrence that some analysts are comparing to the 2016 consolidation phase. Back then, XRP endured a prolonged period of disinterest and weak price action before staging an explosive rally in 2017. Some market watchers argue that extended drawdowns often serve as shakeout phases, removing weak hands before a stronger uptrend begins. CoinDCX. The shakeout phase. That is the mechanism by which 5,000 XRP transfers from the hands of people who cannot hold through the pain to the hands of people who can. Every person who sells their 5,000 XRP at $1.40 because they cannot stomach another red week is transferring their position and the future value attached to it to whoever is buying on the other side of that trade. Neutral analysis of on-chain data shows that large holders are currently in a phase of accumulation rather than distribution, with major asset managers and corporate treasuries integrating XRP into their strategic reserves. The network is becoming a core piece of the global financial stack. Interactive crypto. Major asset managers, corporate treasuries, integrating XRP into strategic reserves, while the price is suppressed, while retail sentiment is at its worst point in months, while the YouTube headlines are screaming about whale dumps and Fed threats and Motley Fool bear cases, the institutions are accumulating. The distribution data shows that 5,000 XRP puts you above the median holder. The price scenarios from Standard Chartered, from the Monte Carlo models, from the analyst consensus, all of them show meaningful upside from current levels. And the Fed decision landing tomorrow will either accelerate or delay, but not destroy the fundamental adoption story that underpins every one of those price projections. Here is the complete honest picture for the holder of 5,000 XRP right now. You are in a position that 99% of the people who will eventually hear about XRP will never hold, not because they could not afford it. $7,000 is accessible to a significant portion of the American population, but because they will not have the conviction to buy before the catalyst, the discipline to hold through the volatility, and the knowledge to understand what the distribution data and the institutional analysis are telling them about the window that currently exists. The window closes when the price recovers. When XRP trades at $5, $7,000 buys 1,400 tokens, not 5,000. When it trades at $10, $7,000 buys 700 tokens. The opportunity to accumulate a top 5% XRP position for the price of a used car exists right now at $1.40 during a correction that the on-chain data says is approaching its end. 99% will never own 5,000 XRP, not because the math is impossible, because the patience is. If this breakdown gave you a clearer picture of exactly where 5,000 XRP sits in the global distribution and what it could be worth across the realistic price scenarios, hit the like button so more holders can access this analysis. Subscribe to stay updated as the Fed decision lands tomorrow and the price scenarios begin to resolve. And drop your honest position in the comments right now. Are you above or below 5,000 XRP? Because that conversation tells you everything about who is actually positioned for what comes next. Stay data-driven, stay patient. The 99% will figure it out after the move. You already have the data before it.